Start by watching just this tiny little video.
A mean and despicable creature at heart, you know. It's so difficult to really change.
Difficult?
Why, look here. Changing from bad to good's as easy as
Taking your first step.
put one foot in front of the other, and soon you'll be walking across the floor. Put one foot in front of the other, and soon you'll be walking out the door. You never will get where you're.
Oh, we needed that. So this morning I'm going to talk to you a little bit about, I'm calling it lyrics for life. We spend a lot of time in team meetings and we see a lot of motivational videos. And to be fair, you can probably tell by looking at me that I never ran the fastest or jumped the highest. So I am motivated by lyrics. And I sing that little song, I didn't even know what it came from. I had to Google the words to think, oh, what, have any of you watched that really old Christmas video? Okay. Anyway, so I've always lived in a life where I had words in my head, lyrics in my head. And usually they just show up, kind of sometimes in the middle of the night. And I know, right? And so if I said to you right now, let it go, what would you think of? Frozen. And would you say in the past, let it go to me was like, if I was telling you, just let it go, what would you think I was saying to you?
Just stop worrying about whatever it is.
Stop worrying about it, drop it. So now there's a bunch of 4-year-old girls running around being a queen going, let it go, you know? And it means something entirely different. It means to like dig deep within yourself and release your inner strength and your inner power. It's not like back off, like in days of old. It's more about finding out who you are. So there's this whole generation of young people, and probably parents and grandparents, who now hear the lyrics, let it go, in their brain. So how many of you have a little piece of paper, got one when you came in the door?
If you don't have one, raise your hand.
If you don't have one, show your hand one. I'm going to ask you to do something that may not be in your comfort zone. I'm going to ask you to write on this piece of paper what you consider the worst thing is that ever happened to you. Right? Got quiet. I want you to, and I want you to think about the thing. This is anonymous. You don't have to sign your name. I want you to think about the thing that maybe kept you from getting up in the morning, or the thing that made you think, I cannot go talk to people and sell a house today, or do whatever else it is that you do in your other job. You gotta have pens in your hands to do this, people. Anyway, if you feel like participating. Now, if you tell me you couldn't get out of bed because you were hungover, that doesn't count. It needs to be bigger than that. And frankly, if you're 20 or 22 and you don't have anything, that's great. You will. But I can, yeah, you will. You will. Life will happen and you will. Yeah. So if you have one of those little pieces of paper, I want you to write down, and then we're going to collect them in this bowl and we're going to use them later. Okay? So, how many of you can remember when you were 14 to 18 years old? Like, how many of you can remember when you were 14 to 18 years old? Yeah. If you're 20, by God, you better remember. How many of you thought you knew your life path? Is there anybody in here that knew exactly what they were going to do? Yeah? That's awesome. I really had no idea. But I had a pretty idyllic childhood. My sister-in-law says that I led a beaver cleaver life. And if you're not old enough to know what that means, then Google, leave it to beaver. My parents were married for 41 years until my mother's death. And my siblings and I all got along. We all still get along. We played by a creek, we built forts, we sledded down hills, I followed the rules, I got good grades, I graduated really high in a class of almost 600 students. And I didn't really have a plan. But truthfully, I didn't expect anything bad would happen to me. So those little things that maybe you're writing on your piece of paper right now, there was nothing in my life that I would have thought that was going to be me. By the way, if I cry, my youngest son says I cry when I announce a potluck. Because it's so emotional about all the potlucks I've been to, So fast forward to 2008. My eldest son had had his third cocaine and alcohol-induced seizure. His dad, my husband, was hunting up in Strawberry, somewhere in the mountains up north. He was out hunting. And my son is about 6'4", and he weighed about 260 pounds, and he had fallen on the floor next to the bed, and his head was banging against the bed, and my hand was between him and the bed. And I couldn't handle life anymore. I didn't really know why. And I ran away for a weekend, and there was only one person where I went. I'm just going to advise you, this is not wise to do. So, it doesn't matter if you've been married a long time or not. It's just not good to run away from home. I'd been married 28 years at that point. After that weekend, I moved out of the house, and I lived in what I call an IKEA college boy furnished townhouse in Midtown. It was offered to me by a client, really cheap. And in 2010, I divorced, and 6 to 8 months later, my husband took his life. One of my friends that's here, Tracy, reminded me that that was today. So yesterday I put a post on Facebook because for me in my brain it was a Sunday, but he never got up for work on Monday. So 7 years today, which is ironic and maybe logical in some way, purposeful. So that 14-year-old girl, that 18-year-old girl, this was not in my plan. None of this was in my plan. And when a plainclothes police officer walks into your yard first thing in the morning, they are not there to deliver good news. So my middle son, Adam, was living with me, and because we were divorced, the police officer wasn't coming to talk to me. I was a non-entity at that point, right? They were coming to talk to my son. Because we were so recently divorced and had been married for so long, I was still the person to plan the funeral and make all of the arrangements. David, you were there. Many of you, several in this room who are friends of mine, were there at that funeral. During that same time frame, bankruptcy and foreclosure. Meanwhile, my eldest continued to use and hard drugs, and at one point I had to put a lock on my bedroom door because he hallucinates, and he thought that I was sleeping with a friend of his. Currently, that son is in Yuma in prison with a 1-year sentence. So again, I go, what? What? How is it possible that this is my life? Have you ever asked yourself that? Have you ever had things happen in your life when you're like, wait, this cannot be me. This is certainly somebody else's movie. Maybe you lost a sibling to a drug overdose. Maybe you were a child of abusive parents. Maybe you had a child who died very young. I'm here to tell you we all have stuff. Everybody has things that happen in their life. So, I'm going to sing some lyrics that go through my brain that have helped me in the last 10 years. You can go to the next slide, please. So these pictures are here because I'm going to sing several lyrics from a show, group that I performed with called Up With People. There's a couple of friends in here who are alumni who know that group. I was 18. This one, I was at a nursing home doing a performing, believe it or not, before I needed a hip replacement. I could dance the Wabash Cannonball Plug. This was in Mexico City, a close-up, and the only reason that picture of me eating Chinese food is there is because I want you to know about keeping relationships. Jose Luis was my first recruit in Mexico with Keller Williams. He works for KW Breeze in Cancun. 42 years later, so it's awesome. All right, so the first song I'm going to sing. And I'm just going to put a disclaimer. I was a pimp. I was not the lead singer.
He's the best singer in this
so,
room.
yeah, so for all of my Up With People friends, there can be no judgment about this. So. 1 to 1 will change the world by giving to another a helping hand along the way. A simple act of love is what changes are made of, and 1 to 1 will change the world. So I think of this now, and I thought of that then, and during much tougher times. Gary Keller talks to us about having key people in our life. I have those key people. When we first did Bold, I thought bold schmold. There was nothing about me that felt bold. And David was team leader, and I was picking up the bold coach, Brian Combs, down at the airport, and he started coaching before we hit Valencia. And I was like, I wanted to throw him out of the car. Brian, I love you if you're watching this. So, I was not lead generating for 3 hours, you guys. I was Skyping for 3 hours a day. I Skyped with friends all over the world. I Skyped with a Methodist because that happens to be my religion. I Skyped with a woman who was a single friend who had never been married because I was single after 30 years. I Skyped with a friend who had experienced suicide. I Skyped with men because I have 3 brothers and 3 sons, and I had been married since I was 22, and I didn't think I could live alone. So I had guy friends, I would Skype with them. I have family, I have brothers, I Skyped with all of them. And each of them contributed something to my life that I needed. I didn't want to wear out any one person by talking to the same person every day. So, meanwhile, at Keller Williams, I was on the ALC. I was head of the culture committee. And in the midst of crazy, dark times, my business continued to grow. So when Gary talked about having people that matter, he was referring to his inner circle, people that he trusts. If you've been to Family Reunion, and some of you have just been to Mega Camp, you know that he has a financial person, a spiritual person, a legal person. He has people, a circle of friends that are close to him. So, do you have those people? Do you have your close circle of people? Maybe it's your spouse. God bless you if it's your spouse. That's awesome. Maybe it's, just a good friend from somewhere, but I challenge you, if you don't have a piece of paper to write it on, think about it and write it down later and make sure you have that circle of friends. Because one-to-one, we're going to change the world. All right, so the second song was actually the ending song in an Upward People show in the early 80s, I want to say. It's called Let the River Flow. There's a spring back in the valley, in a grove of shady trees. Its source is deep within the mountain. It winds a course we cannot see. And there flows a hidden river through every heart beneath the sky. It's a dream that seems to go on living. It may run low but never dry. Now this is the part that matters the most. It's the power to keep going, the power to turn around. It's a power to keep growing, to see a light in the darkest night. Let the river flow. How many of you have been to a show? Are any of my other friends? I wanted to sing that far in the song because I wanted you to think about your darkest night. What was your darkest night? So I mentioned earlier that I had to put a lock on my bedroom door. My son was high and he was at my house. He was pacing up and down in the halls. And I had anticipated that something might go wrong. So my car was parked in the cul-de-sac behind my house. And I had told my son that it was a shop and that I couldn't get it till morning. About 5 in the morning, he fell asleep, and I snuck out of the house the back door, and I went to a friend's home, Linda. And we had to call the police on my son. So when we reach our darkest night, this song suggests to me that we have to go to the source. For me, the source is spiritual. For me, the source is God and prayer. That might not be your source. Your source might be yoga. It might be hiking. It might be something entirely different. But when we are at our deepest, darkest time, we have to dig deep within ourselves and find our inner strength and find our source and let it go, right? So, as the lyrics of the song suggest, you also might have to turn around. How many times in our lives and in our business do we get to a place where we're like, I'm just going to keep going, I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it. You're going to drop the client that makes you nuts, right? Sorry, clients that are here that are friends. I didn't invite those people. Turning around for me meant that I had to have my son arrested. And I had to put a lock on my bedroom door. that was one of the hardest things, you guys, that I've ever done. Because if you are a parent, or if you had a parent, you can pretty well guarantee that that was not anything that you ever thought you would have to do. So where is your source? Do you know where you draw your strength from? Have you thought about it? If I was in bold, I'd say write it down. Because we talk in bold, write it down. Think about where you derive your strength and remind yourself of that every day. Okay, third song. How many of you can name this show, movie? Come on. Does it say Newsies? Oh, good news. Yay, Newsies. So Newsies is about the strike that the Newsboys did against the big power, the Pulitzers. And in case you don't know it, Christian Bale was one of the leads. He doesn't always like to talk about that. And they sing a song when they're ready to strike that they sing, now is the time to seize the day. And then basically at the end they're singing and dancing because it's a musical. Open the gates and sing the day. There's another one that I told that I love from Shrek the musical. So has anybody seen Shrek the musical? Oh, yay! So the three princesses in the tower, right? There's a princess in a tower. Oh my gosh, it's just like me. And at the end, they're all going, today is the day. I know it's today. It must be today. How many of you ever felt that way? It's gotta be today, right? Today things have got to get better. So I'm going to go back to bold that first time. I didn't want to be bold. And yet I had to be. And David, I wrote the word but in here, but every time I wrote but, I'm like, so for those of you that bold stands for a business objective, a life by design. And they don't want us to use the word but or try. So every time I wrote the word but, I was like, I'm supposed to say and. I had to be bold. I had to seize the day every day, even when I felt like crap. There was nobody else to do it. So I don't know if any of you have filed bankruptcy, but when you do that, you can only have $150 in your checking account. Holy crap, that was scary. And my credit score went from an 810 to a 550. I was like a non-existent person in the world of lending. I had to work. Fortunately, I had good mentors, and I'm able to compartmentalize fairly well. My business coach said that I had to do 6 things every day. The 6 things that I had to accomplish, and I either wrote this before bed or when I got up first thing in the morning. To begin with, those things were like, make your bed. Have you read that book? There's a book out, Make Your Bed. Make your bed. Do the laundry. Pay a bill. Not pay the bills. Pay a bill. It was like, just pay one bill. And then she said to me, okay, some of these have to be work related. Crap. Here we go, back to work. So call one client. Go to the office for 1 hour. And during those times, that's all I could muster. So is Polston here? Did Sean make it in? No. Okay, so Sean calls me a full-time part-timer. He's like, oh, there's the full-time part-timer paying rent for her space. So during the early years, I would come in with a smile. I would go out with a client with a smile. And then I would maybe lead a meeting, and then I would go home and cry my eyes out. It often felt like I was 2 different people. Many had no idea what was going on in my life. There were those who did. So I challenge you to make a list of 6 things, you guys, every day. 6 things that you have to do. For me right now, with a knee replacement and a bad hip, that could just be getting shoes on. It's hard to do. But some days that list for me is really broad. Some days it's like clean the house, and other times it's do one thing and dot loop. Because depending on where I am in my life, those 6 things change as to what I'm actually capable of doing. And so I challenge you to write down 6 tasks every day, either before bed or when you get up in the morning. Okay? All right, so now, did we gather the pieces of paper?
Gathered.
Okay.
Anybody else
have
a
one
second
there?
gathering?
All right, so now I want you to, if you put one in, I want you to take one out. And just pass it around the room. I'm not going to pass it, you pass it. So if you put one in, I want you to take it out as I go into the next section of this. And at any time, you're welcome to open it and read it. It's between you and whoever wrote it on that piece of paper. So, another Up With People song.
I got my own.
Oh, no, that could be good. I don't know. No, let's give her the bowl back.
Well, now everybody
Solved.
knows.
Problem
Well, fix it, problem solved.
They're gonna hide, yeah, they're gonna hide it. I know. All right. This is another song that many Up With People alumni really like. If I was looking through your eyes, I wonder what I'd see. Would I see the good and the bad? Would I taste the sweet and the sad? And would I understand you better if I could see what you see? This is another set of lyrics that go through my mind a lot. So when I go back and I talk about my eldest son, when he was in about 3rd grade, we had a neighbor kid that never went to school. And Grant would come home and he'd say, "Mom, how come so-and-so doesn't have to go to school?" And to be fair, in my young mother judging stage, I was like, he's a hoodlum and his parents don't control him. I didn't say those words, but that's what I thought in my brain. So one day, I don't remember if it was the late 1990s now or the early 2000s, this young man jumped off the roof of the county prison in our hometown and took his life. Judgment, guilt. I lived across the street from someone and I had no idea what they were going through in their life. I couldn't experience what they were experiencing. And I learned that if you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. This is another one of our bold laws for those of you that aren't here. Suddenly, everything in their world looks different to me. He took his life, and now I have a son in prison. I hope and pray that people aren't blaming me for that and aren't calling me a bad mom, right? So, when I meet new people, when you drive around buyers in your car, when you go to list a house, we've all talked about the DISC profile. We know we all have different profiles. Clearly, I'm a high I. I have to hire people to do the detail work. I don't see the world through the same lens that everybody else does. I have 2 sons, 2 other sons. I love them dearly. We do not see the world the same way. And we are a product of our genetics and our environment and what happens in our life. So Adam, some of you have heard Adam play music. He wrote a song when he was working down at Bison Witches called Alexander O'Toole. And he wrote about all the different personalities because there's a plethora of personalities down 4th Avenue. Wouldn't you agree? Yeah. So the song starts with Alexander Lee O'Toole was born during a storm. He was shocked by everything that was comfortable and warm. And then it goes on to say that he chose to sleep on the floor because a bed didn't make sense to him. So in this song, by the way, my son is Shepherds and Sailors online on Spotify. And he writes about 3 or 4 different people who, as we stand on the outside looking at them, we're like, why would they do that? Why would they live that way? And I think of that 14 and 18-year-old girl who had a pretty peachy life and how much the lenses I see the world with have changed as I've gotten older. So, can you think of a time when you totally had to adjust your point of view? Are you good at it? Every day, right?
Yes.
Every day, because we never know what other people are going through it. So think about, again, who you are, the source, where you draw from, and how you see the world, because we all look at it through different eyes. Okay. Am I out of time yet? How are we doing?
Nope,
Okay,
you're good.
So, Rochelle. Rochelle's an Up With People alumni. And this is another song a lot of us like. There's gonna be another day, and it's not so far away. There's gonna be another spring, there'll always be another song to sing. We're gonna see, there's gonna be another day. So when I saw Rochelle in the parking lot over at Cold, we were talking about the lyrics to the song.
It makes me cry.
When you've written 5 offers on homes that your buyers haven't gotten. Yeah, there's gonna be another day. Like 12 hours from now. Or when a deal falls through, you know that good real estate stuff that we all have when people think that all we do is show pretty houses and it's a piece of cake. So for me, the lyrics were a reminder that no matter how bad today was, tomorrow, tonight the sun would set, and tomorrow it would rise again. And through God's grace, I would be given another chance to move forward. This past year, those words reminded me, through a knee surgery and an upcoming hip replacement, which is why I'm not clogging this morning, that I was fortunate to have more listings than buyers. Do you remember me telling you this, Marilyn, when I was at your house? Yeah. So I started out in this business as a buyer's agent, and Keller Williams is like, listings, 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 listings. Dave was like, listings, 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 listings. No. Again. I don't trust myself. I don't have confidence enough. I don't know if I know the market well enough. All those things that you can question yourself about. Well, I have to tell you, 2017 was my best year ever. 2018 has started really well, and it's been predominantly listings. And thank God, because I can't walk upstairs right now, you guys. Just like, yeah, go have a look. show me what it's like up there. So, yeah, Skype them in. So, if I wouldn't have been able to drive for long periods of time to show people 10, 20, 30 houses, however many it takes. I know 5, some of you only show 5. Listings have been a godsend for me. Every day, because there's a new day, I work to learn something new. How many of you wake up in the morning and want to learn something new? Do you do that? Mm-hmm. If the word change comes into that, do you feel the same way? Change. This whole Kelly app, I'm like, oh, another app. Each day I work to learn something new. Each day, sometimes it's French or Spanish. I speak French, a lot of you know that, and my Spanish is what I call vacation Spanish. I try to do that. Sometimes it's work related, not always. I like to paint. Sometimes I'm painting. I've done acrylic and oil, and recently I did some watercolor just to learn something new. I challenge you when you're down to learn something new. You wake up in the morning and one of your 6 things is that you want to do something new that you've never done before. It feeds your soul. It goes back to who the source is. We can work with all the buyers and sellers in the world, and I know you're not all realtors that are in here. However, we still have to feed ourselves, right? We have to nourish ourselves so that we have the strength to be who they need and to serve them well. So think about the challenges you have in your life. Again, if I was in bold, I'd say write it down if you all have pieces of paper. And think about learning something new. Another suggestion related to this is to maybe carry something with you that's a solid something that can remind you of who you are, of your bigger why. A former pastor of my church was an Ohio State alum, and he carried a Buckeye with him all the time, all the time. He always had a Buckeye on him. And it reminded him of who he was and where he was from, and he was proud to be an Ohio State man. So I actually have in my wallet a copy of a poem that Pam Devine's mother wrote. Now some of you know Pam. She used to be with Keller Williams. And it's about friendship, and it's about a real friend being willing to listen to everything that happens in your life, hold on to the stuff that matters, and like corn, blow away all the chaff that doesn't matter. Those are the people we need in our lives. And I carry that with me every day, everywhere I go. Okay, last song. If you look at the lyrics, tell me if you know what it's from. It's like name that tune. How many of you have seen Wicked? Okay, so I'm going to channel my inner Kristen channel. Please, if you're ever watching this, Kristen, don't judge. I've heard it said that people come into our lives for a reason, bringing something we must learn, and we are led to those who help us most to grow if we let them, and we help them in return. Well, I don't know if I believe that's true, but I know I'm who I am today because I knew you. I'm gonna sing a little more. Like a comet pulled from orbit as it passes the sun, like a stream that meets the boulder halfway Who can say if I've been changed for the better? But because I knew you, I have been changed for good. Recognize that. You guys, we buy and sell houses, right, for a living. We help people do that. But it's a people business. We're helping them with the largest thing most often that they're going to do in their life. And you can know all the details about when the windows were put in and if the roof is in good shape and all that. And yet if you don't have a relationship with the people, none of that matters. Because they won't work with you if you're not connected as a human being. I think through all the ups and downs in the past 10 years, I've been more attuned to why people enter our lives. Life is a journey, and there's a reasons, seasons, lifetime thing that a lot of us have heard. Why do people come into our life? So little did I know that 40 years ago I would meet people who would walk me through this decade. Leaders who would advise and guide me, whether I wanted them to or not. Just gonna look at you, Dave. Little did I know that I would meet a man who was a warden in an Arizona prison, who at this point can help me with something I never anticipated in my life. I have a friend who sat with me at the courthouse through divorce and bankruptcy and mental illness and psychiatric wards. And a massage therapist who does hypnotism, which by the way is awesome. And I have pastors who have been mentors as well as guides. So I'm going to challenge you again to think about the people that are in your world. Don't be afraid to ask. This is not in my notes, but I want to let you know that there was a time when AHA paid my mortgage, paid my rent. There was a time when my pastor's personal fund paid my rent. If I hadn't spoken with them, that wouldn't have happened. So dig deep, find your personal source of energy. Think of 6 things that you have to do every single day that reminds you of your big why. And remember that we share the world with people who are seeing it through all different lenses. We don't ever have to know or totally understand their perspective, but we are now part of their journey. Every person that you connect with is now part of your life journey. So I'm going to end with another bold law. Be, do, have. Be who God intends you to be. Do what you know you should do. And have all that you are due in this life with the strengths and graces that God has given you.
That was beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing, Donna.
We'd like to follow that.
I'm not sure whose paper this is. I don't need to. I just want to let you know that I'll be praying for you, whoever's paper this is, okay? Because my source is God as well. So thank you so much for attending today. I'm going to be giving a live demo of something else that Kelly does. It's really cool. Right over here if anybody wants to see me, okay? That's it for today.
Great
job. Thank you, guys.
Ready? Thank you for coming.
Ready? 1, 2, 3. I don't know if my eyes aren't focusing or the camera is. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, do you want to? Yeah. We're gonna grab sandwiches and sit on the
It's done.
That was great.